What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I am here with Zach, and he just got top 8 at a case tournament with Inzektors. How do you feel?
Honestly shocked. I just brought it to have some fun and test it out a little bit because this has been my pet deck for the last month, and I did surprisingly well. Part of that's probably luck, but part of it's also that nobody knows what this deck does because it's from 2012.
Right, so go ahead and just gloss over like what the structure of the tournament was, how many people, how many rounds, and like just kind of how you did.
Yeah, it was 6 rounds, a little over 40 people. I went 4-1-1. I faced 1 cash, which is my only loss because Macro Dryden is stupid, and that's why it's going to be gone soon.
Woohoo!
Yeah. 1 flu, which I actually 2-0'd.
Wow.
2 curlies, which are always hard matches, but the whole point, you just make Max that usually cinches it. And then 2 unchained, one of which I tied against.
Not bad at all. So let's go ahead and talk through the card by card. So first up we have Inzektor Gigamantis.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about both of the Gigas.
Yeah, so Gigamantis and Giga Weevil. Yeah.
They are both reborns. That's all you use them for. Everyone sees Weevil as like just a worse mantis, but you only need one of each because it's very searchable. It's very easy to, or they both have the same effect to just reborn something. Weevil actually I prefer because it can summon back itself in niche cases. You're usually using this to just reborn a Dragonfly in grave so that you can use its effect again, because none of these are once per turns.
Yeah, speaking of Dragonfly, here's the boy.
Yes, so this is the traditional heart and soul of the deck. When a equipped card is sent to the graveyard, or an equipped card equipped to this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Inzektor, excluding Dragonfly from your deck. This is triggered multiple times throughout your turn and multiple times with the same Dragonfly.
Yeah, notably it's if an equipped card is just sent to the graveyard. Any means, doesn't have to be destroyed, just has to hit the graveyard, and it can be any equipped card, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yep. We have 3 Inzektor Centipede.
So Centipede is one of the cards you special summon off of Dragonfly because it has the effect to when equipped cards are sent to the graveyard, you add an Inzektor card from deck to hand, and it's any Inzektor card. So
any Inzektor card. That's crazy. So you can search the new spells and everything.
And this actually is one of the 2 card combos that is just, its full combo is insane. Beats Nibiru and is just very strong.
Up next we have 2 copies of Inzektor Hornet. Now Hornet historically was, almost as important as Dragonfly. Like, not quite, but just the advantage it created was super important. So is there any reason you're only on 2?
Yeah, so Hornet historically was the only good card that could be equipped because you could activate it, sending itself to the graveyard for cost at any point, then trigger your Inzektor, Centipede, and Dragonfly effects. I'm only playing 2 because there is a much better equip, and you basically only need this going second, and you'd much rather have the better equip, which came out a little bit later, which is Inzektor Ladybug. What it does is it can send itself while equipped to the graveyard to target a card on the field and destroy it. Not once per turn. Is the same thing, except it sends itself to target one card on your, or one monster on your side of the field to change its level. Doesn't have to be an Inzektor, doesn't have to be anything, it just any monster on your side of the field. You can just modulate its levels.
Yeah, so these 5 cards are important because they're on demand equip, not destruction, but they're sent to grave. So you can on demand send an equip from your field to the graveyard. Anything else about Ladybug, or should we move on to the Infernoble Knight Oliver?
We will move on to the Infernoble Knight Oliver.
Because this is obviously the redheaded stepchild, pun very much intended, of this deck right now.
Yeah, so this is a part of a package of Infernoble cards. The important thing about Oliver is that it can send an equipped card from hand or field to the graveyard to then special summon itself as a level 1 tuner. And basically every single Inzektor here is a level 3, so it just gives you an easy line to A, proc Dragonfly and Centipede, as well as get a level 1 tuner onto the field to synchro summon into Herald.
Yep. That makes sense. I saw the Herald and I was like, how are we making this? I'm not sure. I was like, is it like Souls plus Ash or something? But no, it's just this guy. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So up next we have 1 Therion King Regulus, the boy.
So this card is an Omni. That's why we play it.
Yeah.
It also just takes up one spot, which is incredibly good. There are other packages like the Trooper package that a lot of people are playing, but that takes up 2 slots, and I would much prefer to have Regulus. And the B Trooper package also locks you, so I just prefer to have the Regulus because an Omni that also has an equip. So if you have souls, then you can send that equip to the graveyard to then draw at least one card.
That's
So,
hilarious. That is very
yes.
hilarious. So speaking of souls, we have 1 souls and 1 illusion of chaos. It was only one of each. I can imagine why, but go ahead and explain why only one of each.
So it's just a small package. You don't want this to be the main focus.
Right.
The whole point of the Souls package is to have an easy way to proc your equip cards,
Hmm.
just sending those to the graveyard to then proc your Dragonfly and Centipede,
Hmm.
as well as being the best small world bridge the deck can get.
Yeah, I figured it was small world. I figured that's the reason why we're playing this, but also just the utility, like you mentioned, to send the equip cards to the graveyard, and also just gains a little bit of advantage, is probably pretty nice as well.
Oh yeah.
So up next, 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I imagine this is you're playing it both as cross-out targets, but also 2 of, just so in case you draw it, you still have cross-out live.
I'm playing 2 because there just isn't enough space
Mm,
to have multiple crossout targets as well as crossout itself.
okay.
2 also will increase the chance that you draw only 1 of each hand trap instead of drawing 3 or 2
Gotcha.
or 3. So it increases consistency as well as making a much wider berth of crossout targets that you can implement.
Okay, that makes sense. So up next, we have the card that is quite literally just a custom card, Zektrike Ko-O. Is that how you say this card?
Yep. So this is always treated as an Inzektor card, so you can search it off of Centipede, which is huge. We only use it for the first effect, which is choose 1 Inzektor monster from your deck and either special summon it or equip, which can be ashed, unfortunately. If you can get this off, you just win the game.
Yeah.
And what it does is it sends in 1 other Inzektor card from hand or face of field to the graveyard, so you can use this to proc your Inzektor effects as well.
Mhm.
By sending an equipped card to the graveyard and then special summoning a Dragonfly.
Very, very funny. Up next, we have 2 cards that most people have probably only seen with a blue border and with the Weevil Underwood on the back. We have Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. So explain this one.
So this is by far the best card that you can pitch for Pico Faleno,
Mhm.
as well as just increasing consistency. What it does is it tributes 1 insect monster from either field equipped with an equip card.
Mhm.
So it's only going to be yourself unless you're facing against B troopers, which never happens. But it just lets you special summon an insect monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions.
Okay.
So if you get interrupted, like let's say normal summon Centipede, you equip it with Ladybug, and then they imperm you.
Mhm.
You can cocoon it away into a Dragonfly and then continue your plays.
Okay, so it's basically just letting you dodge targeted effects that also like sort of pluses you in a way. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So it's less to avoid the targeted effects, more just if you get Veilered or impermed
Mhm.
on your Dragonfly or Centipede, it hurts a lot.
That's
So
fair.
having some way to recoup the losses after that is very important.
I
And
see.
it has another effect which you can activate during the same turn that you do the first one, which is huge, and that's shuffling an insect monster from grave back to deck and then drawing a card.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so that's pretty cool. 1 foolish. What are you using foolish for? What are you dumping normally?
Ladybug,
Just dumping
dump
Ladybug.
Ladybug, normal Dragonfly, Dragonfly equip Ladybug.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. And then we have what I assume like rounds out the Infernoble like package. We have 3 Infernoble Arms Almace and 1 Durandal.
Originally, this was just 3 Durandal, but then Almace came out and it basically can tag out for Durandal. So it's 3
Okay.
extra copies of Durandal that give you an extra effect. So if you equip this to Dragonfly, you can activate Almace to equip Durandal, then send itself to graveyard. That'll trigger the Dragonfly, and you can do the same thing, searching out the Oliver with Durandal. So it gives you 2 effects. for the price of one.
Okay, very cool. Also, it
And this is actually a part of the 2-card combo with Centipede.
okay, very cool. So then we have 3 Small World. You mentioned it before, but this deck, I take it, isn't the most consistent deck ever. So Small World bridging into exactly what you need is always crazy.
Yes. With the things such as Small World, such as Ko-Oh and Ultra Evolution, as well as to a much lesser degree the Souls package, I have managed to get this to a theoretical 78% consistency for a 2-card combo.
Very cool.
Which is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's back when Super Heavy Samurais were released and announced, and people were planning the FTKs with them. They had I think it was an 82% consistency with the just the Super Heavies, not including Machina stuff, right? So the fact that you're approaching that level of consistency, because that was a very terrifying point in Yu-Gi-Oh! For everyone. It's just oh great, we're just gonna get Super Heavy FTK'd every day of our lives. So the fact that you have that level of consistency, proportionally consistent, is very impressive.
And there are ways to get this much more consistent, but I value having 10 flex spots far more than an extra 2% of consistency.
Yeah, so speaking of the flex spots, we have 3 Book of Moon. Then we have, we mentioned out the 3 cross up before and the 2 infinite impermanence. These are all kind of, self-explanatory. Ash is really good both as a cross out target and against things like Branded and to some extent Kashtira. Book of Moon is great again into established purely in Kashtira boards. Do you think you'd sub these out for anything now going into the new format with Kashtira, Rise Heart not being a thing anymore, essentially?
I actually built this deck for the next format.
Okay.
So I think that this is what will be optimal, because Book of Moon is incredibly strong against early. If you can get a Book of Moon off at if they activate the trap card targeting their Noir to bump it up into X Noir, and then you chain Book, they lose 3 draws. Oh no, they only get to draw 3 cards instead of 6. Konami, why? Anyways, they lose 3 draws, they don't get towers, and their entire game plan is just dead.
Gotcha.
And you can just pick apart their board from there.
Gotcha. So I guess let's move on to the extra deck then. So we have the 1 Herald of the Arclight. You mentioned we're making this with Infernoble Knight Oliver and then any of your 8 level 3 Inzektors. So seems like you get to this pretty consistently.
Yes, this is such a good card. The only thing that you might run into is that it does have a little bit of a macro effect for monsters sent from hand or deck. So if you say go Herald and then later in your turn off of Pico or Cocoon draw into the Souls package, you will not be able to summon that because it must send to grave.
Gotcha.
So it is a little bit unfortunate that there is not that much consistency, but oh well. It's an Omni. It's very easy to get out. It's good enough.
Yeah, so speaking of Omnis, we have the Way We're Searching Regulus, Springan's Merrymaker, and Gigantic Champion Sargas. So obviously, people are probably asking, everything's either 3 or 2 or 6. How are you making Merrymaker? I'm assuming the answer is Ladybug, but...
The answer is Ladybug.
Yeah, okay. So we're making Merrymaker, we summon Sargas, and then we'll see it later, I'm sure, in the combos, but I'm assuming we just link Sargas off or something, and then we can Regulus back attach the Sargas.
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, because we unfortunately are not playing any other machines or Therion cards, so makes sense.
Yeah, I was testing the Therion package originally with Lily Boria as well. If I'm going to be searching out Sargas, I'd much rather go into just straight up Regulus. It saves slots, increases consistency, and plus you can't even summon Lily Boria without dipping into your extra deck because everything is insect, and Lily Boria can only do cannot do insects but only plants.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can obviously speak to it, but it seems like this is probably a very tight extra deck.
Yes and no. There are some cards in here that you can sub out.
Right.
But a lot of it is just toolboxy. Your end board is relatively consistent in what you're making.
Right.
Everything else is just for going second or on your opponent's turn, just to help pick apart that board.
Gotcha. So speaking of which, we have one Traptrix Allomeris. So this makes an appearance from the Traptrix archetype, and this card is actually very insane, very underexplored in Traptrix. But just go ahead and run us through the effects really quickly.
Yeah. So it's got two effects. One is to detach two, special summon one level 4 insect plant monster, which you're not going to be using like ever.
Right.
Simply because everything is level 3.
Mm-hmm.
But the effect that you will be using is if an opponent's monster leaves the field by your card effect, which is going to be Hornet most of the time, because Regulus doesn't negate destroy, it just negates. Unfortunately, Herald does negate destroy, but it's more of a going second card. If you can make this and then Hornet away one of your opponent's monsters and then steal it, like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, very cool.
Especially against Elements, because if you play, I did test this against Tier. You make this first, like you destroy their
Rhino
Tier
Heart
monster that can, Rhino Heart or something. They try and activate the effect, you just take it.
Yeah.
And they can't use it, so it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, you could always just make a Beast Dweller instead.
Yeah. Beast Dweller, classic card. Probably one of the strongest rank 4 XCs that isn't on the restricted list in any capacity. Absolutely crazy card. So, up next we have number 3 Cicada King. So, talk about this card.
Yeah, so this is both a targeted monster negate as well as a way to recur on your opponent's turn. Like, if you aren't able to make the full board, making Cicada King in defense position is still good because it's got 2,500 defense. It's hard to beat over. And then if it survives till the next turn, just flip it to attack, summon back one of your Inzektors, and you're basically all set to do something else on turn 3.
Very cool. Next, we get into the links. So, Boral Sword. Any reason specifically why Boral Sword?
Boral Sword is far and away much better in this deck than Access Code.
Okay.
And here's why.
All right.
Access Code, while it can get big, you don't need that. You need to just hit face. And this can hit face a lot, especially since you're going to be summoning this is a board spam deck. You can just summon out 5 Inzektors, link 3 of them away for Boral Sword, special summon 3 more, and then you get, 10 attacks, 11 attacks during your battle phase? That's insane.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Also, this does, this can kind of sort of clear the X purely. Speaking of which, Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, you kind of touched on this before, but this is your X purely Noir out.
Yeah, so if you win the die roll and you go against Pearly and you get Avermax out, you win the game, because realistically, what do they do? And that's what happened when I faced against both Pearly players. I lost the die roll against one of them, but I was able to draw Book of Moon and just flip their Noir down before they could summon out Big Noir. Then you just turbo out Avermax. And what do? They can't target it. All of their effects target.
Yeah. So final Link 4, you get a lot of Link 4s. Makes sense. You basically have a near infinite Link material. Appaloosa. So Appaloosa is very weird. I think a lot of people don't respect Appaloosa a lot. But now, given the fact that there's not a lot of things like Imperm running around, it's a lot of Book of Moons, and you obviously can't book a Link monster, Appaloosa is probably pretty decent.
Oh yeah, I had multiple times where people were like, I can't interact, just because your board is usually 6 negates, plus Abyss Dweller. Just the ability to have so many ways to interact with your opponent on their turn. It's an FTK essentially.
So then we have Unicorn. Everybody knows what Unicorn does. Just a very good kind of just generic, Link monster that sometimes the other effects come up, but mostly it's just spin a problem back to the deck, right?
Yeah, basically all you're using it for is for IP.
Yeah.
Just IP into Unicorn.
Yep. And in between the IP and the Unicorn, we have Sky Striker Ace Azalea, the new card. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, so you don't need this. I did summon this twice during the tournament. You do not need this. it's a very expensive card, and I can understand why people wouldn't want it just because of the price tag
Right.
and the fact that you can do similar things with Hornet. It's basically a mini version of Boral Sword that can also destroy. And since the entire deck is Dark Monsters, Sans, Ash,
Ash,
Oliver,
Oliver,
and Regulus,
Regulus. That's it. Yeah.
it's so easy to make. Um, it's just a mini Boral Sword essentially.
Very fair. So then we have the final actual like I wouldn't say like combo links, but the expected links. We have one B Trooper Armor Horn and two Pico Felina. So let's start with Armor Horn.
Yeah, this only locks you when it's on the field.
Mhm.
Let's get that out of the way real quick. So many people have misconceptions about this, and I had so many judge calls simply about this card, and that's because people misunderstand the first line of text. It says you cannot special summon monsters except insect monsters. It does
Yep.
not say for the rest of the turn. It's only applied while it's on the field.
Yeah. Now technically, if we're talking PSCT, it should say while this card is face up on the field, just like Skill Drain field. But yes, that is how it does work. Yeah.
Basically, this is just giving you an extra normal. It makes the 2-card combo live and allows you to extend farther. So if you have Dragonfly Ladybug, you can Dragonfly equip Ladybug, then Ladybug trigger the Dragonfly to summon out a Centipede. Centipede can then search out another Dragonfly, then you can link those into Armor Horn and just continue your plays that way.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the second effect where you can just banish 3 insects from your grave, special it. It's like nice to remember, but the only thing you can really do is summon it and then go into Pico Felina. So it's nice to have like that extender in the graveyard, but I'm assuming it doesn't come up a lot.
I literally never use it.
That's fair.
It's never been used.
Yeah, so next we have the 2 Pico Felina, probably the heart and soul of Inzektors, so to speak, obviously, but talk us through this card.
Yeah, Pico's an interesting card. It's not quite as good as Ko-Oh of the newer cards,
Right.
but it's still very, very good. On Link Summon, you discard a card, target one other insect monster you control, which is usually going to be Dragonfly, and equip it with a card from an insect card from your deck.
Which is
Or an
crazy.
insect monster.
Just cheats
Yeah,
it out
any
from the deck.
insect monster.
Yeah, any insect just cheats it out from the deck, so crazy.
Yep. So if you started with Hornet and you were able to send it to the graveyard multiple times with stuff like Oliver or Ko-Oh, enough to where you could bring out Pico, then you can just equip Ladybug or vice versa. Because realistically, you want both of these in rotation on your first turn, just to give you options, because all of the Inzektors do not target to equip.
Interesting.
There are corner cases where one of your equips will get banished, and then you can just equip the other one, and this helps that to get in rotation.
Gotcha.
Realistically, if they interacted with you after you already got out Pico, they've already lost.
Gotcha. And then
And the second effect is really, really important. You target 3 insect monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them back, and then draw a card. You don't care about the draw, it's just the recycling that's important.
just the recursion, yeah. And it just says 3 insect monsters, so just having 2 Pico Felina means you have essentially infinite Pico Felina.
Exactly, yes.
So then we can talk about the side cards. I'm pretty sure I understand most of these. Shifter, Nib, and Droll, all just very important crossout targets, I take it.
Yep. Side in 1 Nib, 1 Droll, every single time, going first in games 2 and 3, because you don't want to get Drolled. You don't want to get nibbed. While you can beat Nib with a good hand, you don't often get those good hands, and you got to play with what you got.
Right.
So having crossout just gives you another option.
Yep, and then obviously any Wombo combo deck normally loses to Droll and Shifter. I'm taking Shifter just because Shifter's at 1 because not a ton of people are playing it.
Yeah. Also, you die to Shifter, so if you play against like the thought process behind Shifter for the next format is if people are coping on cash, and also the Flu players that are going to be inevitable because Unchained is just an unfavorable matchup against Flu. Like Shifter's going to be much more prevalent, as well as stuff like Vanquish Soul, which does play Shifter as well.
Yep.
Being able to bring in 1 Shifter as a crossout target is super important because all of your Inzektor cards need to be sent to graveyard to proc the effect. If they get banished, you just cannot proc their effects. Also, they can equip from graveyard in hand. If you get shifted, your turn basically ends because your whole game plan is recycling the equips. You can't do that if they're banished.
Gotcha. Yeah, so up next we have Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and then to an extent 3 evenly matched. I'm assuming just back row hate and just board clearing, going second cards type thing.
Yeah, so this format is incredibly strange. I would much rather have stuff like Dark Ruler No More, but just the sheer force of Unchained makes it necessary to have evenly. Because your game plan going second is just cycle Hornet to eat their board. But there's only so much you can do, and that's why evenly is here, just because you need those guys off the field.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm just curious, did you test a lot against Rescue Ace, and how does this deck fare against Rescue Ace? Because Rescue Ace is the black sheep of the format, right? Where it's everybody knows Unchained and Purely are kind of the top dogs. They're both fighting it out for which deck is better. But Rescue Ace is still there.
Yeah. Against trap decks, you essentially just get infinite MSTs with this deck. So you kind of have to just get rid of their. It's very interesting because in most trap decks, you want to get rid of their spell traps before their monsters. But against Rescue Ace, you have to go for specifically Hydrant first, and then go for their back row. Because their back row essentially does nothing without Hydrant.
Yeah, interesting. All right, and then the last 3 cards in the side deck is just 3 Book of Eclipse. I'm assuming this is just for the Purelies, for the Cashier, Rise Hearts, all those kind of things.
Yep. Yeah. I've got 3 in the main, which is the book for Pearly, 3 in the side, which is Eclipse for Pearly, and then I've got 6 in the side for Unchained, which is the Evenlies and the Cosmic.
Very fair. Very fair.
I'm more afraid of Pearly going second, blind going second, than I am of Unchained, because like I said, I can just eat through all of their recursion with Hornet.
Gotcha. Yeah, nice. So the nice thing about this deck is it's actually exceptionally cheap, right? Excluding staples like Crossout, Imperm, the only cards that are genuinely expensive, including most of the extra deck, are Illusion of Chaos and Illusion of Chaos got reprinted, right? So IOC and Regulon.
$7 card.
Yeah. Souls, Azalea, and that's really it. This deck is very, very cheap, but there are some budget options for people who want to play this deck. What are those?
Yeah, so you don't strictly need the Regulus package and the Souls package. You don't need the Souls package if you're going to be playing Small World. Funnily enough, and you're gonna absolutely hate me for this, but the next best bridge for this deck is Garbage Lord.
You're joking.
I am not joking, and there's a very good reason why.
All right.
It's a dark that has 0 attack but has defense.
Okay.
So you can use the 0 attack can help you to bridge from Ash Blossom, just basically any hand trap, Ash Blossom, and any of the Ghost Girls, as well as Droll and
Valor. Yeah.
And the dart can help you to just go from one Inzektor to this back to another Inzektor.
Okay. And then...
since it's a fiend, it's also an extender, which is important sometimes. Just a 5-star extender.
Just a free body you can use to make well, you can't use it to make Pico Felina or Armor Horn, but you can use it to go into
Azalea.
Yeah. So,
or I guess not Azalea, because if you're playing this budget, you're not going to be playing Azalea, but you could use it to go into Unicorn or Nightmare Phoenix or something like that.
Yeah. So okay, very interesting.
Yeah, so another replacement if you don't want to play Small World, because it is a decently expensive card. I think it's $5 per copy or $3 to $5 per copy.
Something like that. You can just play
Insect Imitation, which is not quite as good because it can't search your entire deck, but it can, if you open Ladybug, you can just send that away with Imitation, summon out Dragonfly, and then you got full combo there.
Okay.
So that's one of the things you can do. You also have Cocoon, which, you don't strictly need Cocoon,
Mhm.
but because it is a couple, I think it's like a dollar card on TCG Player
Yeah.
per copy. You don't strictly need it, but my goodness, does it help. Nothing else really fills its niche.
Yeah. And then like
so good.
yeah, and then like after this, like the main deck, like everything here is like 25 cents or less. Again, excluding the staples. Side deck can be whatever you want, and then extra deck like Arclights maybe a couple dollars. Sargas is maybe like 5 to 10, something like that. But it's not a lot. Like this is a surprisingly budget-friendly deck. Yeah, very very cool. So you had some combos that you wanted to show us. So why don't we go ahead and get into those so everybody can see what this deck actually does. Alright, so we are back here with the combo video. So Zach, you mentioned that there are some 2-card combos with this deck. So let's go ahead and run through them.
Yeah, I'm gonna just show you guys the best one, just to show exactly what the deck can do. Going first, which is starting with Centipede and Almace.
Right.
Now this is a straight up 2-card combo. There are some 3-card combos, and there's some 2.5-card combos. This one, flat 2. Flat 2.
Very nice. Very nice.
And I'll show you guys how it is. So, standby, main. Start by normal summoning Centipede, and then you activate Almace, targeting the Centipede.
Okay.
This will equip it, and then you will declare the effect of Almace. This will equip one Noble Arms from deck to a monster. So that will be Durandal, and then it will send itself to the graveyard on resolution. That will trigger Centipede to add one Inzektor card from deck to hand. Here, you always, if you don't already have it, add Ladybug to hand first. If you already have it, then you'll just add Ko-Oh instead. But
yeah, 'cause it is any
you
card,
always want to get Ladybug in case they have something like Droll, because then you can use your extenders to do that, and make sure that you have a play to equip Centipede with Ladybug.
Yep. All right.
Anyways, Durandal effect.
Yep.
This adds your one of Oliver, and then sends itself to the graveyard, which will then trigger Centipede again to add another card. So already we've plussed ourselves a lot. We're adding Ko-Oh here. And now we will use the first effect of Centipede to non-targeting equip one Inzektor monster from hand or graveyard. So that will be the Ladybug we searched. And then here we will activate Ko-Oh, sending the Ladybug to the graveyard for cost to special summon, or choosing monster to either special summon or equip from the deck. And we will special summon out the Dragonfly. That will then trigger Centipede again. Gotta love non once per turns.
Always.
And here we will add to hand Dragonfly. Next up, we will Dragonfly effect to non-targeting equip the Ladybug.
Okay.
And then we will we will activate the effect of Oliver, sending the Ladybug to grave to special summon itself as a level 1 tuner. And then that will trigger Dragonfly.
Yeah, so
to special summon out Centipede.
So here we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 summons. I can imagine what comes next.
Next, because we already have used the Dragonfly, we're just going to send that puppy to the graveyard along with the Oliver for the Omni in Herald.
And now we are safe from Nibiru. We are safe from, pretty much any monster hand trap that could come up. Actually, just any hand trap.
Any hand trap, yeah.
All right.
Next, we will Centipede to equip the Ladybug.
And this is the fresh Centipede.
Yep, this is the fresh one. And then here we will, for the first time this game, declare Centipede, sending itself to the graveyard, targeting doesn't matter. You know what? Just for funsies, we're going to target the Herald to give it 2 extra levels. It can be up to 2, so I could give it 1. This is how you get to level 4 on your Inzektors. But because these levels don't really matter, making a level 6 Herald is funny.
We could overlay it for Beatrice.
Oh yeah. That will trigger our Centipede again. And here we will grab to hand any of the Gigas, but I prefer Giga Weevil. Next up, we will send both of these to the graveyard for Armor Horn.
Okay.
And then you'll activate Armor Horn to normal summon the Dragonfly that you searched off of the, I believe, 3rd effect of the first Centipede.
Oh my goodness.
And then you're going to Dragonfly to equip the Ladybug. And then Ladybug, because these levels don't matter, we're just going to Herald again, because that's funny. That will trigger Dragonfly. For the last Centipede in deck.
Okay.
Here we will Centipede for Ladybug. And then we will Ladybug. Targeting increase by 2.
We now
will trigger the Centipede.
I mean, this Herald is essentially just a Baron de Fleur at this point.
Yeah, it's a Baron, yeah. That can't be interacted with after it activates its effect.
Correct. It's almost better.
Oh yeah. Here we're going to add a Ko-Oh. This is very important because next we are going to link off the Centipede and the Armor Horn for a Pico.
Okay.
And Pico discards for cost. And you don't want to discard any monsters because they'll just get banished with Herald.
Right.
So you will just discard the Ko-Oh, which unfortunately is a once per turn. Oh no. Still a broken card. You're going to target the Dragonfly here.
Yep.
So we are going to get Hornet here.
Okay.
And then we will declare the effect of Weevil, targeting the Dragonfly to equip itself to the Dragonfly.
All right. Now importantly, very importantly, this gains 2600 defense. So very beefy Dragonfly booty.
I think it just becomes, it becomes 2600.
Okay, so it just becomes 26. Yeah, anyway, not important at all, actually. Yeah.
Just for funsies.
Yeah.
So here, very important before you do anything else, you got to activate Pico, targeting all of your Centipedes.
Put them back in deck.
Yep. Shuffle up, and then you draw 1. Doesn't matter. Oh, would you look at that? I drew a Souls. It's unfortunately dead because of Herald.
Yeah. But it's fine, because it's just a free discard now.
Oh, yeah. If we were to discard anything, but we're not. It's just going to be follow-up, essentially.
So now, importantly, like, if we didn't have Herald up, we could do some very funny things, I take it, where it's like we go special the Souls, and then send the Weevil and the Hornet to grave, draw 2 cards, and then do everything we're about to do here, but we can't do that. So what's the next chain of events?
Next chain, got to make sure you have 3 zones open.
Okay.
Because this is going to special summon 3 times in one chain.
Okay.
So here we're going to declare Hornet, sending itself to the grave for cost, targeting the Weevil.
Okay.
That will send the Weevil to grave, and this will start the 3-part chain. You are going to Weevil, targeting the Dragonfly you have in grave. And you want to do this first because if they had Ash, they would already have used it. But this plays around Ghost Spell and Meister. So Chainlink 1 Giga, Chainlink 2 Dragonfly, Chainlink 3 Dragonfly.
It's not even once per chain. This is so funny. I love it.
Yep.
All right.
So
how does this chain resolve?
Summon a Centipede with the Dragonfly. You'll special summon a Hornet with the Dragonfly. And then you will special summon from grave the Dragonfly that you have in there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's we basically just soul charged.
Now, what the goal of this? The reason why you go for Centipede and Hornet is so that you can make Apo.
Okay. Because you do need different names, yeah, for Apo, yeah.
Yeah, this is regardless of whether or not you're going to do what I'm going to do next. You want to do Hornet plus Centipede, even if you're not playing the Regulus, which I'm going to go into Regulus here, the Regulus part of the extra deck here. You want to make sure that you have these in case you're not playing that, just so that you can link them off for Apo, because they have to be different names. Yeah. Here we're going to Hornet. You don't have to do this if you're not playing Regulus, but since I am, going for Lady, and then Lady effect, targeting Hornet, increases level by 1.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, you don't get any effects there, because Hornet's a bad card. And you'll Centipede, getting the Lady.
Doing the same thing.
And you'll Lady, targeting Negative 1, and you'll trigger Centipede, and you'll add the other Giga.
So this Giga Mantis.
In this case, yeah, Mantis. And here,
overlay our level 4 Inzektor, Hornet, and Centipede into Merrymaker, and then Merrymaker into Sargus, and then Sargus effect. And now, importantly, Sargus is just, while it has material, you don't need to detach. So if you really wanted here, you could go to battle and keep this around for a beefy format Zeus. But we're not playing Zeus.
Also,
so
this is a very good card to have on your side of the field. If let's say you weren't able to make full board and your Abyss Dweller got sent to grave against Unchained, this did come up in the tournament. You just go into Sargus, and then you do like a Cicada King to detach, then proc this effect to then bounce, because it can target one card on the field and either destroy it or return it to hand. So
can I
bounce the Unchained card?
Yeah, can I just say I love that this card has that that versatility, where it's like if you have something that has a floating effect you want to dodge, you can just bounce it to hand. Or if you have something that says like they can't leave or if you just have something that you need to clear, like that you don't want them to have, like let's say like a skill drain or something. Well, not a skill drain, but like some kind of floodgate or something. You can also just send it to the graveyard. You just pop it. So very, very cool that you have that utility. Anyways.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it's not going to be sticking around, because we're going to immediately send those 3 to grave for Apo.
Yep.
This is a 3-mat Apo. Actually, can I
think
change the attack?
Should be able to.
Ooh, so 2400, I believe.
Very cool that we can do this. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's note, off of 2 cards, right? We have 4 negates on field and a grand total of 6 cards in total, right?
We're not done yet.
And we're not even done.
Because we have yet to activate this Dragonflies effect.
Yep.
We're going to get Hornet, and then declare the Mantis we have, targeting the Dragonfly.
And then we're just going to do the Hornet thing again.
You'll note we have 3 zones open, so we will declare Hornet, sending to grave, targeting the Mantis.
Oh my goodness. This is too funny.
This will start a 3-part chain. We will declare the effect of Mantis, targeting the Dragonfly in grave. And then we will do Chainlink 2 Dragonfly, Chainlink 3 Dragonfly.
My goodness.
Centipede. Centipede. And then Dragonfly. Alrighty.
So now the world is pretty much our oyster.
Oh yeah. The order for these doesn't really matter. We're just going to do this, and then do this, targeting, increase, declare. I like to add another Dragonfly to hand, just for follow-ups.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I assume now the centipedes are just getting follow-up for next turn, assuming our board does get eaten. Yeah. So we're doing this.
It is a little bit difficult to follow up. Oops. make this, and then that'll trigger. This is our last Dragonfly, and I like to have some other cards in there, so I just like to get Ko-Oh because it allows it to special. Ko-Oh is both combo, and if you are not able to make Arclight, it's very important to, if your board gets interrupted and you get nibbed, you can still Ko-Oh pitch a Inzektor from hand to special summon from deck. So it's also very, very good follow-up.
Hilarious. Love it. Anyways.
We're going to overlay for an Abyss Dweller.
Okay.
And then we're going to trigger this effect. Go there. And then declare. We'll just make this one a 4. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. So we're going to make our Herald a level 12.
Now, do the same thing for another card and make, make Zeus. Just hard overlay for Zeus.
Oh yeah, exactly. Now here you have multiple options. Like I could have ladybugged to make one of these a level 4. And then I can ladybug for ladybug, and then ladybug make one of these another level 4.
And that's where you could go into something like the Trap Tricks cards.
You can go into Alumaris. If you are not playing something like Azalea, another option is
Rafflesia. Yep.
Which is a very, very good card.
Yeah. You could also do 5s here if you wanted to go into the 5 pool. Doubt that that's very good, but it is an option if people wanted to look into it.
Yeah. With Apo, you don't really need to go into the 5s pool, but there is stuff like Photon Bouncer, which is just a monster negate.
Very fun card.
Yeah. And the Inzektor, I think it's Inzektor
Exabeetle.
Exastag, which is the rank 5.
Yeah.
Is also not terrible if you are on a budget. It's a very, very cheap card. Yeah, Exastag. It's a very cheap card. I really like IP. It's very cheap right now. I think it's $2.
That's crazy for IPs to be.
So
pick up your IPs now if that's true.
This entire deck, like full power, is straight up like $100. That's including all of the staples and everything. But you can get it for 30, just outright.
Yeah, just cutting a few things. Yeah. Also, like importantly, I think in next format for Age of Overlords, we might be including things like SP Little Knight, which would be very interesting to see what that card can do in this deck.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Our last part of the combo is Regulus. Targeting, it doesn't matter, but I like to target Sargus because if they have a Reborn, then they don't have a big guy to summon back.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
there's the Regulus coming down.
We have 6 cards in hand because we
there's
all
a 2-card
of these
combo.
Pluses off of 2 cards. Yeah, so we have 3 other cards in hand. So if we have stuff like
we have, if I'm remembering the hand correctly, we have Ko-Oh and Dragonfly for follow-up, and then 1 blank card that was a draw of Pico Felina.
Yes, and if you have stuff like Imperm or Book, that's very good here, as well as Crossout is also very good to just set. And same thing with Ash, like all of these, you run 10 of 10 flex spots, so there's a high likelihood that you're going to have at least one of these to set, or in the case of Ash, have in hand.
Yeah, and then like I can already hear the comments speaking. It's like, oh, you're leaving a Dragonfly on field, and I can already tell it's just IP material. You can go like IP and Dragonfly into Unicorn. After you use the Abyss Dweller, if you're like, I don't really need this anymore, you can go IP, Abyss Dweller, and Dragonfly into like a Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax. Or if you really wanted, you could go IP, Dragonfly, Abyss Dweller, and one of your opponent's monsters for Underworld Goddess, if you wanted to play that.
Yes, and importantly, one thing that you can do is you can just leave Pico on field to fuse or to link away with IP into Abram.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right,
Yeah,
so let's just do the tally, right? Let's just do the tally here. So off of 2 cards, right? We ended with two Omni negates off of Herald and Regulus, 3 monster negates from Oppo, a graveyard lockdown from Dweller, a quick link on your opponent's turn with IP Masquerena, follow-up, and a singular draw, which could have been something else, like, an Ash, a Veiler, a Crossout, something like that. And you still have 3 other cards in hand if you were on the play. So, I mean, this is essentially, like, when you break it down, this is kind of a YouTube combo deck where it's like, look at this insane board. But when it can do this, it has essentially an infinite resource loop. This is pretty impressive. And it's not hard to see how you got top 8 at a plus 40 man case tournament. So, very, very cool.
Yeah, and off the IP, you have 3 targets. You have Azalea, you have Unicorn, and you have Avramax.
Yeah. And as we all know, an Avramax summoned with an IP is essentially impossible to out.
Mm-hmm. And importantly, with Azalea, we have 4 spells engrave off of this 2 card.
Oh, yeah.
So it sticks around.
Yeah. Yeah, well, awesome.
This
is very cool.
I'll just banish Azalea so you guys can read that, because it's a interesting card.
Yep. Very cool. Very, very cool. This is impressive. Like, I've had, like, ever since, I think it was Grand Creators, where they reprinted basically every Inzektor card, except for, like, Mantis, and then that came out, I think, like, a couple months later in Ghost from the Past. I've had, like, an Inzektor core just sitting around collecting dust, but this makes me think it might be more than just 20-cent commons.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, not even. Like, Dragonfly, which is a super from Grand Creators, is, I think, like 10 cents.
Yeah, and then there's like
Giga Weevil, I think, is the most expensive one at 50 cents. Everything else is a penny, if not 5.
So I guess what we're saying is, Inzektor fans, get your collector's rares, ultis, whatever. Get them now. Get them while you can. Because
and one thing that I do want to mention real quick, there are some other packages that people have been considering playing, such as like a punk package, but I don't really like that, just because it decreases consistency. Because you're normal summoning the Inzektor every single time. You're not going to normal summon Ziamet. You want to special summon that off of E-Telly.
Right.
So you're essentially adding 3 bricks. And I don't think that's really worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I can already see
and,
it
you don't need it.
Yeah, but yeah, I can already see it being kind of like, if you hard draw the Regulus, it's kind of annoying that you have to go through the Sargus line anyway, just so you have something to equip. Or, if you, like, let's say you draw the Oliver, you don't have a great card to search off of, is it Almace or Durandal? Durandal. You don't have a card to search off Durandal, so that could be kind of frustrating. But yeah, seems like a super consistent, super, like, kind of fishbowl-y deck where you're still trying to make it to the same end board. It reminds me a lot of kind of like the original Dragon Link boards, but not quite. Obviously, we have some less powerful cards than Agripane, but anyways, very, very cool. So I guess to wrap up, do you have any shout-outs? Do you have anything you wanna mention before we go?
I mean, of course, we got to shout out Immortal. Like,
let's go.
I have been sending him so many of my Cope Inzektor lists to be like, look at what it can do, for the last few, last week and a half or so.
And it did it. It did it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else?
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention in the deck profile, I'm not playing Inzektor Sword. I don't think you need it.
Oh, Excalibur. Yeah.
Clearly, you don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah.
It might be able to increase follow-up, but you've got enough follow-up in Pico and Cocoon.
Yeah.
Because if you can pitch a Cocoon off of Pico, like, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty. Well, with that being said, we will catch you guys in the next one. Comment down below if you liked this deck. Do you like Inzektors? When's the last time you saw an Inzektor deck topping a case tournament or topping any tournament? So, yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you really enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace!